All right, Shalom. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachahak Wadash. Double honors to the head apostle and elders, great millstone who rule well and teach well, and Shalom to the elect. I want to touch on this article from abcnews.com entitled, "These companies said they will raise prices in response to Trump's tariffs." I'll leave the link in the description box as well. It says how tariffs may affect prices on everyday products amid the escalation trade war between the U.S. and China. President Donald Trump's tariffs on Chinese goods coming to the U.S. could mean for your budget. And this is definitely going to cause a price influx and inflation over here in Babylon the Great. And as you see on your screen, Trump's proposed tariffs raise taxes for all income groups, with biggest hike on the poorest Americans. Okay. Back in this article, it says President Donald Trump this month slapped tariffs on most products that enter in the United States. Economists widely expect the policy to raise prices for U.S. shoppers as importers pass along a share of the tax burden. And yeah, it definitely is going to cause a price influx, especially these various different goods and products that come from China. All right. And there's a large percentage of products that come from overseas. When you look at the auto industry, when you look at the appliance industry, when you look at the electronic industry, okay, the majority of those products are made in China. When you look at the auto industry, the majority of your replacement parts, the majority of your aftermarket parts come from China. It says, and across the board, 10% tariffs applies to nearly all imports. So not only did Donald Trump put a heavy tariff on China, but he also has put tariffs on various other nations as well and countries. It says, and across the board, 10% tariffs applies to nearly all imports, except for semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, and some other items. Those levies come on top of specialized tariffs on steel, aluminum, and autos. China, the third largest U.S. trading partner, faces a cumulative tariffs of a whopping 145%. So that's a heavy tariff on China. And China has retaliated by putting their own tariffs on the United States. Okay. So we're in the midst of that trade war going on. And this is going to cause a very noticeable change in the prices of goods. All right. Products, especially things that you order outside of the United States. Okay. We're already hearing about Amazon, canceling orders. The various different Chinese apps, Shein and Temu. We're seeing changes in their policies and what they'll actually ship to you and the cost of shipping and various different things like that. Okay, so we're definitely going to see a noticeable effect from these tariffs, and we very well could see an increase of tariffs on China and these various other countries that Donald Trump has put these tariffs on. All right. It says plans for price hikes have already taken shape at an array of companies, ranging from fashion retailer Shein to luxury sports car manufacturer Ferrari. Here are the companies that have announced price increase as results of Trump's tariffs. All right. And as you see on your screen, is just somewhat of an inflation calculator that I believe has already took place. Okay. Okay. Well, okay. March 1st, when the tariffs officially, I guess, go into effect. Okay. It says new Trump's affected to push up inflation, effects of hypothetical tariffs on increase of U.S. core inflation. If things were already not as high, they're going to get a whole lot higher. And the pay that you receive at your job is basically going to stay the same. We're going to see the increase in gas prices. We're going to see a increase in food products. And soon It's going to go from an inflation to a hyperinflation, where the cost of bread is going to be outrageous, unaffordable, and we're entering into a famine of bread. And the majority of the people on the earth, or I should say, the majority of the people in Babylon the Great, are ignorant to this fact. And this is all being set up by design. These wicked elites are bringing down and destroying their own system in efforts to what? To bring about a new system. It says a pair of Chinese based e commerce companies, Shein and Temu, released identical statements earlier this month announcing plans to increase prices in response to Trump's tariffs. The price hikes will take effect on April 25th, the company said. So you're no longer going to be able to get those super low prices for goods, for appliances from these various different Chinese apps. Because I'll say this: these Chinese apps were putting a lot of these companies through hell. Some of them putting some of them out of business over here in America, man. You know, you get on these Chinese apps and you can find appliances, electronics, tools, various different goods for your household at a fraction of the cost of what you would pay for it over here. Okay. So people stop going out to shop at a Best Buy. People stop going out to shop at these local appliance stores, man. They just hop on an app and order, you know, a large amount of products from overseas with free shipping delivered straight to their door, right? It says, due to recent changes in global trade rules and tariffs, our operating expenses have gone up. The statement said, to keep offering the products you love without compromising on quality, we will be making price adjustments. All right, so there you have it. You know, hey, here, Best Buy. Speaking of, these appliance and electronic stores, man. All right. It says Best Buy CEO Corey Berry told analysts to expect price increases as a result of higher tariffs. So now your laptops, your computers, your flat screen TVs, your camera systems is all going to be at a higher price now. It says tariffs at this level will result in price increase, Berry said on an earnings call in March before Trump escalated tariffs a month later. I think it is very difficult to say, given the backdrop that we're in, precisely how big that is. Best Buy relies on global supply chain, Berry added, noting the company's top two sources of goods are Mexico and China. All right? China has a heavy foot in the electronics industry, and they make it cheaper than any other place on earth. And you got these analysts saying that essentially all these things that are made in China and elsewhere can be made over here in America. Well, of course they can, but at what cost? You bringing these companies over here to America, guess what? You're going to see an astronomical increase on the price of those products, because now you got to pay these individuals, unless you use AI and robotics, to make these products. If you have to physically pay somebody to make these things that are made over in China, hey man, the prices of those things would be outrageous. All right, outrageous. Your iPhone's being made over here in the United States, an iPhone would go from, which the iPhones are already, super super high. People paying 1,500, thousands of dollars for a phone. Well, that $1,000 you pay for an iPhone is gonna go to a damn near price of a used car. Okay. It says AutoZone CEO Philip Daniel, who runs the Memphis-based car parts retailer, told analysts in September that the company will respond to tariffs with price increases. We will pass those tariffs costs back to the consumer, Daniel said on an earnings call. AutoZone did not immediately respond to ABC News' request from comment regarding its current plans for price increases. Now, there you go, man. The auto industry, the appliance industry, the electronic industry are gonna, you're gonna start seeing a high increase in these products. It says Trump last month announced 25% auto tariffs, which apply to both vehicles and car parts. So on top of these tariffs that Trump has imposed, he put another tariff on auto. What was it? On auto concerning vehicles and car parts, 25%. Within hours of the policy rollout, Ferrari said it would raise prices by as much as 10% for some models to compensate for the tax burden. That's heavy because, hey, a Ferrari, you're talking about a 250,000 to $1 million car. So 10%, is a lot of money. And through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, we've been telling you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that ultimately America as you know it is going to drastically change. And Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is systematically dismantling this place and bringing it down to the ground. Our people had the notion that America was going to go on forever, that they were going to be able to grow old, raise their children, see their children get old, see their grandchildren, be able to set some money to the side, for them to, so-called inherit. But that American dream is dwindling more and more as the days and the months and the years go on. Let's go to Jeremiah 51. Because this is not the rest for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. All right? This is the place of our captivity, the place of our punishment. And essentially, all of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are under the curses, no matter where you are geographically on the planet Earth. All right? This is Jeremiah 51 and 7. It says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. Yeah, so all the nations have sought to come to America to live the better life, to chase the American dream, to establish their businesses, okay? To be in the so-called quote-unquote land of the free, right? The home of the brave. And here they've got over here, and once they have got to, the landmass of America, they have come to the realization that it wasn't so much what they thought it was. And as they live more and more and more in Babylon the Great, as the years and years go by, they're starting to see this place for what it actually is. It says, the nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. Verse 9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. So this place cannot be healed. This place is being brought down by a higher power. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is bringing this place down. There's no restoration to Babylon the Great. There's no restoration to this system, to this society. These people are done. These people are through. These major leaders, they no longer reside in America, man. These major leaders, they have gone elsewhere in various parts of the earth. They know what's about to happen into this place. They know that a great famine's coming, a famine of bread. They know civil war, race wars, martial law, concentration camps, mass death, disease. They know all that's coming down the pipeline. Okay? It says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go, everyone into his own country, for her judgment reaches under heaven and is lifted up to the skies. Let's get what is that, Micah? This is Micah chapter 2 and 10. It says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted, it shall destroy you even with a sore destruction. And our people have put all their time, their energy, their stock, their effort into this system, this society, into America. Okay. And the majority of our people could care less about Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, about this wisdom and knowledge, about the prophecies. All right. They don't want to hear about the prophecies. They don't want to hear that their precious land, their precious America is soon to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. Right? Let's go to the book of Revelation, the 6th chapter. So we're about to see a heavy inflation, a heavy price increase, concerning these tariffs that Donald Trump has imposed, and the various other things that are happening, all over the earth. Okay. This is Revelation 6:6. It says, I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts. So let me read that again. Revelation 6:6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Okay, so we're going to see a price influx, and we're really at the beginning stages of that, which ultimately is going to lead to a famine, right? Let's go over to Ezekiel, the 4th chapter. There's going to come a time where, a loaf of bread and various items are going to be valued very, very high. Okay, this is Ezekiel, the 4th chapter, and let's go down to verse 10. It says, Ezekiel 4:10, it says, and thy meat which thou shalt eat shall be, it says, and thy meat which thou shalt eat shall be by weight, 20 shekels a day, from time to time shalt thou eat. So there's going to come a time where, hey, people are going to go days, weeks, maybe even months without food. Okay? It says, from time to time shalt thou eat. Thou shalt drink also water by measure. The 6th part of an hind, from time to time shalt thou drink. So, from the day and age that we live in today, being able to just go to a restaurant, these people go to fast food restaurants, they order food online, having a fridge full of, food and various different items, food products from Walmart and Food Line. Hey, well, that's coming to an end. Okay. You know, we're coming to a time where the price of those various different fruit products are going to be so high, people are not even going to be able to afford them. And people are going to take measure into their own hand when these things take place. Like it speaks about, and matter of fact, let's close out on that. Let's get 2nd Ezra 15th chapter. When these things begin to take place, people are going to take matters into their own hands. You see, people are already mad concerning these tariffs. People are already mad concerning these various different things that President Donald Trump is imposing and pushing, these executive orders. People are already mad with the things circling around Elon Musk. Okay, really, these people are mad at what these wicked elites are pushing, because they're the ones that are really behind the scenes, pulling the shots, pulling the strings. All right, this is 2nd Ezra 15:15. It says, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Yeah, we're approaching civil war, race war, as well as World War III. Which you really could say we're in the beginning stages of World War III. It says, verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. They're gonna say, man, to hell with it. They're gonna say, man, you know, we ain't with what this president's talking about. We ain't with these laws, these orders. Okay. We gotta survive. We gotta do what's best for us, right? So we're gonna take matters into our own hands. We're gonna do what we gotta do. We're approaching a survival of the fittest type mentality over here in Babylon the Great, right? It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So they're going to take matters into their own hands. They're like, man, this ain't working. My check and what I got to spend, okay, on a weekly, monthly basis to provide for my family, to pay bills, it's not adding up, right? And then it's going to, as the days, weeks, months, years go on, it's going to get to a point where there's not going to be any businesses for you to work at. There's not going to be any jobs out here, right? Let's get that in Second Ezra 6 chapter. This is Second Ezra 6, and let's go down to verse 22. It says, "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown; the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty." So those places you went to get a stockpile and fill your your refrigerator up with groceries, you know, those various different restaurants you used to be able to go to, them fast food chains that our people love to, you know, eat on a daily basis, which is very detrimental to their health. Those are now no longer going to be ready available to you. All right. It says, "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown; the full storehouses shall be suddenly be found empty. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. And at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies. And the earth shall stand in the fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run." Okay? So, hey, man, Donald Trump's doing his thing. All right? And I believe that Donald Trump will be the last president. Just my analyst. But we'll see. You know, hey, we're looking forward to this place coming down, man. We're looking forward to these things. Hey, these things that are happening, man. Hey, we're all for it, man. All right, because we're hastening. You know, we're hastening the day of the coming of our Lord, man. The day of the return of our Lord Yahweh Shai, man. All right, so we know certain things have to take place, and we're looking forward to those things, man. Okay. You got people that say, how could you be excited at these various different things that affect our very lives? These tariffs affect our very lives. The various things that are pushed and implemented over here in Babylon the Great, as well as various different parts of the earth, it affects our livelihood as well, man. All right? But our focus is not here on the things that, the things of this earth, okay? We're looking past, we're looking, past these things that are right before us, man, okay? We're looking to a new heaven and a new earth. All right. Well, righteousness dwelleth, where righteousness is set on high, right? Let's close out on 2 Peter. Let's see. 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. And let's go down to, let's go straight to the point. Matter of fact, let's start in verse 10. It says, "But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, and in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up." And, we're looking forward to that time. We're looking forward to the day of the Lord. Lord willing, we're part of the elect and we can be saved from that great destruction, right? It says, verse 11, "Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved," understanding these things, knowing these things, believing in these things, having faith that these things are going to take place, okay, concerning the prophecies. "What manner of person ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness?" Concerning your conduct. How are you supposed to be carrying yourself? What are you supposed to be doing? All right. Are you doing things that are pleasing to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai? Are you doing the work? It says, verse 12, "Looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of Yahweh." So we're looking for and we're hasting, man. All right. We're longing for, we're earning, we're yearning. It says, "Wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth, where dwelleth righteousness." So we're looking forward to the kingdom, man. Where dwelleth righteousness, where we receive new bodies, man. But we ain't got to worry about tariffs and price inflation. But we don't got to worry about money. All right. Well, we don't have to worry about, these nations and Esau Edom, because they're going to be under subjection under us, and we're going to be made perfect. We're no longer going to sin, and we're going to be able to fully enjoy life to its fullest, because we're going to have the tools needed to do so. We don't have the tools needed to enjoy life to its fullest, okay? Because we're in this flesh. We're in these chains. We're in these bodies. Well, we're going to be given new bodies in the kingdom, man. And we're no longer going to experience death, all right? Injury, sickness, disease, okay? It says, nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth where dwelleth righteousness. Wherefore, beloved, seeing that ye look for such things, be diligent that ye may be found of him in peace, without spot and blameless. Okay? Lord willing, that was edifying. I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rachaha Kodash. Double honor to the head apostle, that is a great millstone who rule well and teach well. And peace and blessings to you, sincere Akim, that are pushing this truth all over the four corners of the earth, week in and week out, in all truth and sincerity. To the next time, Shalom.